Sir, we are live now.
Good evening to all. A warm welcome to all the participants and viewers for the ExRx India's and Sri Samraj Health Services Private Limited's webinar Super League. We are moving towards the world record. Today's session is 106th topic. The topic is physiology of daily activities. Will be presented by the man who doesn't need much introduction, our famous Dr. HARIOHM, founder CEBNR, who enlightens many physios by his teaching through his YouTube channel and also weekly or monthly physical meetings. I welcome my colleague Dr. Priya and also ExRx India team members Dr. Rupesh and Professor Duna Saha. And now I welcome Dr. HARIOHM and request him to start the 106th webinar session of Please, sir.
Thank you so much. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Thank you. So today I wanted to talk more about not just necessarily about any clinical conditions or physiotherapy as such, but more of understanding movements. One of the important things you will deal with as a physiotherapist is movements, but our understanding of movements are relatively rudimentary, or it is micro in level rather than macro in level. If you don't understand what it means, I will explain it. So it is nothing to be worried about. Now, I'll start sharing my screen so that
you can start sharing, sir.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to talk about is motor behavior. Motor behavior, what I mean by motor behavior is how the system behaves. And here the behavioral aspects of it, mostly we are going to look in terms of movements and perception rather than cognitive behavior, even though they are inseparable. But anyway, for our understanding, we have made it different, right? And as I said, I'm going to give you a macro view rather than a micro view. What I mean by macro is seeing it as a whole rather than as a pointed structure, right? What I mean by pointed is mostly we will look at movements as the nervous system producing the movement and the muscle doing certain things, that kind of thing, right? That is, the M1 fires and then it travels to your corticospinal tract and then it goes to your muscle and the muscle produces these kind of micro issues. But I'm going to give you a sort of a larger picture of how to look at movements. And I have chosen three activities. One is crossing the road. Another one is standing on a bus. And the last one is sort of taking a cup of water, right? I've just tweaked with the context so that we'll have a better understanding, right? So, as I told you, what is mostly learned is that there is a firing here and it goes to your anterior cells and the muscles produces movement. But there is one important structure which is missing from this whole point, right? That is, from this whole equation, we are leaving out a important variable out, right? So we are going to start with that variable first, then we will slowly add more variables to it. Now, the first thing you want to remember is I move in an environment to do something, right? I have to move. Now, sitting here, I am sitting, that is my movement. and also I'm moving my vocal cords. So I'm moving in an environment. The environment is this room, this chair, this camera, because I'm looking at the camera. So this camera, all these things are your environment, right? And what am I doing? I am talking. So if I have to understand movements, I have to have all three of these things. That is that is your biology or the human body, right? I'm going to call that as a system, right? Remember, we call a laptop as a system. Why? Because a system has a lot of subcomponents, but they work together to produce a particular function, if you will, right? So if you take your laptop, you'll have your screen, your RAM, your processor, your motherboard, all those things. So those are your subsystems or subcomponents, but they all make up a whole that is your laptop to function like this, or your phone. So the system is moving in an environment here in the human body, and it always does something. It has to do something. Otherwise, we are not going to move at all. If you are going to move, we are going to move for a purpose. If there is nothing to do, our movements are going to be fairly nil or less, right? So the first thing for us to understand is, as I told you, there is some amount of understanding of I suppose. That is your, what are your cardiovascular system, what does your neuro system does, or your central nervous system does, or your respiratory, endocrine system. All these things, we have an idea, but the poor understanding comes from a poor understanding of what we call as the environment, right? So the first question I'm going to ask you today is, if you think of any environment, how will you describe your environment? What are the, how will you characterize them? What are the characters which define your environment? Now, you can send in your answers via your chat. I'll be giving you 1 minute to answer those things. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sir. Audio is clear only, sir.
Okay. Right. So, so the question, you can answer those things. What do you think is, think about when you're walking on the road or moving around inside your home. What are the characters you can think of when you think of an environment? Okay, I think mobile and stationary objects is a wonderful answer, Mr. Karthikeyan. Regulatory and non-regulatory environment. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Can you explain what you mean by regulatory and non-regulatory, Ms. Neha?
Unmute Neha, please. Rupesh.
Yes, sir. She can unmute.
Yeah, please.
Neha, you can unmute.
Hello.
She's, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, dear.
Sir, means the regulatory means the characters can be modified or regulated, and non-regulatory means the things cannot be changed or regulated. Means those are fixed.
Can you give me an example for regulatory and non-regulatory?
Right now, I don't remember. Sorry.
No problem. No problem. Anyway, a lot of people have taken environment as temperature and things like that. That's an important thing. Chan Shirl, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, flooring, friction, light, atmosphere, pressure. That's a wonderful answer, right? So you think about like this: you're going on the road, and what do you encounter, right? You encounter lots and lots of things which are either moving or they are not moving, but they may be an obstacle to you moving, right? So if I am going to move my hand, I have to have this space must be free for me to move, right? So if I am in a bus or in a train, especially in a metro, you can't move your hand and you're in the train because it is sort of jam-packed, if you will, right? So there are hundreds of things that are happening in your environment. If you want to understand more about environment, there is a classification of how to classify environment, not as regulatory and non-regulatory, but in a far more dynamic manner. There's a person called as Anati Gentile. She is one of the greatest neuropsychologists who helped understand or who made us understand the value of functional therapy, which we use nowadays. She was also the teacher for Karen Shepherd. A lot of you people might have heard of a book called as Motor Relearning Program. A lot of the ideas were from her. So you can go and look into about understanding the environment. But I'm going to give you only one thing to understand environment. I'm going to give you only one parameter, right? What is that parameter is, if you see here, you can see I have put people who are walking on sand, walking on our wonderful road. And this is a video. I'm not sure why it is not running. All right. You can see here. He's walking on the ramp. You can see how slow he is walking, right? And suddenly you will see that he is just accelerating, right? Suddenly he is walking so slow, and then suddenly he is accelerating. Now, likewise, you can see that if I'm walking on this, it's really a circus to walk on this or walk on the sand. If you walk on the sand, you will know that walking on sand is it's a far more complicated thing. What it means is the environment is always variable. It is not the same. What I mean by that is that it is walking in the sand, walking in this, as well as walking on the ramp. It's all walking. But what is different is your environment. And as I told you, the environment is so variable. What it means is I have to change in accordance with the environment. I have to move in this environment, right? So if you have to understand movements, the first thing you want to understand is the variability of the environment you move in. That is vital for us. So if you are trying to understand variables about the environment, there are a lot of variables, as I told you, moving, unmoving, obstacle, which we have to go around. Some obstacle you can jump around. Say, for example, if this is a small puddle, we can jump over it. If there is a large puddle, you have to come around it, right? So there are different ways of understanding the environment, but a simple variable I'm going to make you understand today is the variable. We'll come and put it all together, what it all means. So because there is so much of variability in the environment, the first, and also I am moving in the environment, I have to understand the environment. Here I am talking about the I part of it, right? Remember we said that there is an I which I am moving in the environment, right? So the I has to understand, the biology has to understand the environment. If I have to understand the environment, means I have to understand where I am in reference to the environment. What am I going to do in this environment? For that, I have to form an internal picture of the external. Right? I have to understand how is this chair in reference to me, then how will I sit? Right? So those kind of understanding we have to have about the environment. This is where our biology starts, understanding the environment. If I understand the environment, and we also know that the environment is variable, I will move in accordance with that. Right? So the first step is to understanding the environment. Now we know that the environment is understood in a way using sense organs, right? The sense organ allows us to understand what is happening to us, all right? The sense organs, this is a very important thing for us to understand. The sense organs can only sense in terms of physical parameters, right? What I mean by physical parameters is light, temperature, change in the length or tension, right? Those are all physical parameters which you will do in a simple experiment in 12th standard Young's modulus. You can understand inertia. Inertia means moving, right? You can understand gravito inertia. What it means is moving up and down and forward and backwards. All these things you need to understand in reference to you, in reference to the environment. That is what is happening to you, as well as what is happening to the what is happening to you in reference with the environment. For this, you have these different types of sense organs, right? So we are going to do some experiments now to understand this. So I'm going to stop sharing it, and I'm going to ask you to do something. So if you have a, you can either do it in sitting, but if you do it in standing, it is far more, you will understand it better, right? So the first thing what I want you to do is stand up like this, right? And lean forward and backwards, right? Stand up like this, lean forward and backwards. I will give you 1 minute so that you can do that, and I will tell you, I will ask you questions from that. You just have to stand up and lean forward and backwards. You can also do it in sitting. You can just lean forward and lean backwards. But as I told you, if you do it in standing, it will be always better. Okay. So when you are leaning forward, how did you know that you are going towards the ground? How did you know? How did you perceive that you are moving forward? Again, you can use your chat and tell me the answer. How did you know that you are moving forward and backwards? Don't give me already understood answers from your experience, that from your understanding. That is not what I'm asking you. Tell me how did you feel when you stood up and when you're going forward? How did you know that you are going forward? As I told you, proprioception is not an answer. You can't understand proprioception from this. And I will also ask you about that more in detail afterwards. First, give me the simple thing. Very good, Jyoti. Air is moving. Okay. Gravity, you can't understand gravity. I'm asking you, how did you know? Right? As Jenica and Jyoti have told us, when you are going like this, you can see that the ground is coming closer and closer to you. So your brain knows that you are moving forward. When you are moving backwards, the object which is in front of you, either your laptop or whatever it is going, again, it's becoming smaller and smaller to me, because then from that, I can know that I am leaning backwards. That is one of the function of our eyes. I'll also tell you how we know that it is forward and backwards. How do you know that it is far or near? How does our brain understand those things also? But that's the simple thing. Now we are going to do we are going to make this slightly better so that we can understand how we can understand if you do it with our eyes closed, right? So we can all stand up again, right? So close your eyes this time, close your eyes, and then lean forward and lean backwards, right? And tell me, where did you feel? What did you feel? How did you feel that you are moving forward and backwards? Am I clear? Okay. Very good. So as Mari and Naveen have said, when you lean forward, there should be a lot of pressure in your forefoot. Don't talk about weight shift. As I told you, you cannot sense weight. You can sense pressure. You will see that even if you're sitting and if you're moving forward, you will see if you have a foot on the ground, there is a lot of pressure on your sole of the foot. If it is in the anterior direction, your brain will think that you are moving forward. If it is backwards, then there might be more pressure sensors in your back of the foot is also there. There may also be stretch receptors, that is the length and tension changes in the gastrocnemius and soleus may also work. But we will understand it separately, right? So the first thing we are trying to understand is proprioception. Proprioception, as I told you, it senses pressure, length, and tension, right? So you can use that. Now we are going to try to remove both of it. So again, you can all stand up. Now what I want you to do is, this is going to be slightly difficult, but go on your toes, right? Stand on your toes, right? Close your eyes and then lean forward and backwards, right? Very, very minutely. Don't lean a lot of like this. If you lean like that, then you will understand that your hips are moving, so you will understand. Just do a simple sway backwards and forwards, but go on your toes, right? Now tell me, how will we understand that we are moving? What is that you sense? Remember, you can't shift your weight much because you're on your toes, right? So there is no much of change in your pressure senses, right? So how will we know that we are swaying forward and backwards? Pressure on the toes, as I told you, because it is on the, you are standing on the toes, it will be very, very small. There is so much of error. The system it will find it difficult. It is not that it cannot, but it find it difficult. What else can it, how else will you know that you are moving? Not the toe movements there. there is a far more better movement which is happening for us to understand. Not the pressure on the toes. No, not the knees. Knees can't find pressure because it has to happen in your toes because they are only touching the ground, right? So you cannot have that. You can't have a pressure on your ankle because the structure which is touching the ground is your sole of the foot. So that is where your pressure sensor is. Not the line of death. Movement of the hand, no. Right. Vijay Nambe is right. Movement of the head. What is inside your head? What organ is inside your head? Right, the vestibular system. Right, the vestibular system makes you understand even if you don't have vision. Right, when you have no vision, then also it can make you understand that you are moving forward and backwards. Right, so what does your vestibular system sense? They sense two things. One is gravity, that is if you are moving up and down, and then they sense whether you are moving forward and backwards via your movement of your head. Right, they have it like this in all directions in the 3 dimension. So x-axis, y-axis, and the z-axis. So if you move in any direction, right, you will know that that information is going to your brain, and again it has to go to your eyes via your vestibulo-ocular reflex, right? So what I am trying to make you understand is I have to know that I am standing. I have to know that I am moving forward and backwards. Sharia? Then I have to know that I have moving forward and somebody is coming and stopping you. Then I have to know from moving I have stopped moving at all. All these things come from all these information. That is your vestibular system, your proprioceptive system, and your visual system. Now, this is one important thing. This is valuable, and this is very important for you to understand. Now, if somebody asks you, how do I perceive this? You cannot say that this is because of vision, this is because of proprioception, this is because of vestibular. It is not simply like that. All this information is going to your brain, right? And the brain perceives it or makes up its mind. What does it mean? It cannot be just ankle ankle proprioception or knee proprioception. It doesn't work like that. How do I know that? Remember, people with visual problems, right? People who are blind, they can do everything. They even play cricket, right? And people without sensory function in the lower limb, like hundreds of diabetes patients, they still walk, right? What it means is that is why we have redundant system. What do I mean by redundant system is there are more than one sensor which is giving you information about you in reference to your environment, right? There is more than one. That's called a redundant system. Why do I have a redundant system? If something goes wrong, the other can make a right decision, right? Now, this is, I can't make you do here because we are on the, we are on the net, so it's slightly difficult. But what I can ask you to do is, remember, don't fall down, and then you can't blame me that you fall down, right? So if you do like this, right, we will do the chair like this, right? If I stretch like this, right? Likewise, if I am standing and somebody is having a board under my foot and they are lifting it upwards, right? So basically what they are doing is I'm standing up like this and they are lifting it like this, like I am in a boat, right? That's why I have given you the example of standing on the bus also. We will understand it better also. So I'm standing up and I am sort of tilted upwards. Am I clear? Now, if I am standing up and I'm tilted upwards like this, what muscle will be stretched? Again, you can answer in your chat. Am I clear? I'm standing and I'm tilted like this. What muscle will be stretched? Very good. The calf muscle will be stretched. Am I clear? I mean going backwards because I'm lifted, so my calf muscle is stretched. What does a reflex understanding say? If a muscle is stretched, what will happen to the muscle? Again, you can answer in the chat. What happens if the calf is stretched? They will contract. Very good. Right? But when I am falling backwards, what muscle has to be activated? Again, please answer in your chat. I'm being pushed backwards while tilting my surface under it, right? What muscle has to work to balance myself? Always start from the floor, right? The dorsiflexors, not your plantar flexors, right? When I'm falling backwards, the Newton's third law says if I have to maintain equilibrium, there should be an equal and opposite force. The equal and opposite force comes from the dorsiflexors, then probably your quadriceps, then probably some amount trunk muscles, and then your neck flexors. But if I go by just my proprioception, I will actually fall because I may contract my tibialis posterior and the calf muscles. This is what I mean by the brain makes up a decision based on all the information it collects. Am I clear? And also I want you to make one thing clear, because a lot of people are starting with abdominal muscles. Abdominal muscle is not an answer 99% of the time. What I mean by that is, if you have to produce force and move, you have to have a immovable structure. Can you hear me clearly now? A lot of people have said the volume is clear. Is it clear now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No? Okay. Okay. Right. So what I mean by that is, if you have to jump, right? In which direction you have to go? Forwards and upwards. That's how you have to jump. Right? In what direction I have to produce force? Again, please answer through the chat. If I have to move, jump upwards and forwards like this, which direction I have to produce force? Downwards and backwards is the right answer, right? So I have to produce a force downwards and backwards. Downwards and backwards, that's what I mean by Newton. That's what we mean by Newton's third law. That's what you studied as ground reaction force. That force will start from what object you are touching. So probably it will start from your lower limb, then go up to here, right? Up to your neck. And if you are holding something, we will come to that also. It may start from your hands actually. That is why we should never think that the abdominal muscle is unimportant. All your muscles are important, and out of all those things, the muscles which are the area which is touching the ground or to an immovable structure is vital for our understanding. Right? So I'll just sum up what we have been talking until this point of time. What we have understood is there are lots and lots of, there are many sensory organs, from your vestibular to your proprioceptors, which senses your length and tension, to visual system. All these things makes up a picture of you in reference to your environment, right? So you have perceived what is happening to you. When I'm standing, I also perceive that my system has to produce a movement in relation to what I have perceived, right? So I'm going to straight away jump into a example of how do we understand this and what are the physiology behind it from the perception to action. What I mean by perception to action is you perceive what is happening to the environment in reference to you and act accordingly. This is called as a perception action theory, and this is the idea which all neurology is based on nowadays, right? Not sensory motor theory, perceptual action theory. Am I understood? You perceive, you don't sense, right? There is a difference between those things, but you don't have to worry about that much. But anyway, so I am going to cross the road. What are the things I need to understand, right? Now, what I need to understand is I need to understand the environment. So that's what I mean by integrating perception and action. And from the understanding of the environment, I will make up my movements, right? Now, when I'm talking, most of you should have been noticing only one thing. What did you all notice? What is the one thing you are noticing most of the time when I'm talking now? Can you put it in the chat so that we'll have an understanding? The Buddha. Okay, very good. The zebra, okay. You're not saying anything else? The crab, right. Right. Now you're getting it. Why are you seeing the crab more than anything else? Because it is moving, right? Anish is correct, because it is moving, right? Now, this is one of the most, this is the first lesson you need to understand in terms of perception. When something is moving, we perceive it faster, or your attention is on that moving object. Why? Because the moving object can come and hit me, right? So moving objects are very important for us when you are crossing. We are not worried about the light, the street light lamp or something like that, because we know that that's not going to come and hit me. But I am worried about the moving object, right? So for us to cross a street, the first and foremost thing is vision, right? Because we want to remember what they told you when you were in school or when you were small. Look both sides when you are crossing. You have to sense the environment with your vision, right? So what I have done is I have crossed my road, my clinic road yesterday, and I have taken a video of that. I didn't cross actually, but I have been waiting to cross, right? So we'll come to this later on. If your net is slow, I think the video is not running properly, but anyway. So I step out and I see a light, and then, right. Can you see it?
Yes, sir.
Right. Very good. Now, if I have to cross the street, what should I perceive and what will I look for to cross the street? You can put whatever you think is the right answer in the chat, please. As I told you, tell me in the example from the video itself. Don't talk it as an object. As an, okay, we are looking for the vehicle. What else are we looking about the vehicle? What are we looking about the vehicle? We don't have to guess the speed, but that's a wonderful answer, Sweta. Speed, don't worry about the speed. Now what we want to first understand is the distance. Very good, Bansari. Now what I want you to tell me, how did you know that the vehicle was far or close to you? How does the brain understand that the bike is afar or close? I will run the vehicle, not the light. Light we will always see. The light you can see now also. When it is closer also you will see the light. It is not the light, it is perception. So try to see what is happening to the bike when it comes closer and closer. What is happening? I understand perception. Size, wonderful answer, Nandini. What else? That's not spatial perception. Okay. Not the voice. Who is the sound of the vehicle? The object size increases. Okay, what else? What else you can see? How else do you make an impression that, don't worry about the sound. Sound also is vital, but we are talking only about visual now. Because there are a lot of electronic bikes which are a huge headache for people who are crossing, who are blind actually. Now, can you see the bike now and the person, right? Now, in the start of it, can you see a bike now? You see only the light, right? What it means is you can see a blurred image, right? When the image becomes more and more clearer, you can see it's getting clear. Now it is perfectly clear, right? So that is the first lesson in perception. The objects become clearer and clearer when you come closer, right? That's what happens if you see with a lens. It becomes larger and it becomes clearer. So what we will do is when you're crossing, the first thing we are seeing whether how far it is. As somebody has already pointed out very well, I'll try to say who's that. Previous experience, right? Anisha Singh. So from the previous experience, what we know is for me to cross this area, which is, this is 30, probably 30 feet, right? For me to go from here to here, whether this size of object is equivalent to my ability to cross this space. That is, do I have the speed to do that, right? So I use this idea of the image and understand that now it is far away. Now if it is here, I will be walking very, very slowly. If it is slightly clearer, then what I will do is I will be walking slightly faster. But if it is, sorry, if it is here, if you are a young person, you will run and cross the street. Or if you are sort of a happy person, you will run. But if you are an older person, you will not, right? So this perception for us is it is very valuable. Okay, as I told you, the perception is where it is. What is the action? Me walking. So I have to make up my mind in what place I can see the object, or I think the object is, I will start walking. Remember, when I am walking, I have to understand that This is not to going and coming and hitting me. This moving object is not going to come and hit me. And also remember, I have only shown one side of the road because this is a one-way in near my my clinic. That if it is two-way, we have to see it both directions. We have to know. We have to make a planning for or make a perceptual idea of where your objects are from both directions. Then you start to move. When you are moving, you have to move fast or slow depending upon where you put your object, where you think your object is. And also, this is where one of the most important parts of our visual system is needed, what we call as field of vision. I'm assuming a lot of people can understand what's a field of vision. It's an easy thing to do. A lot of neurologists will test this, but a lot of people don't understand what it is, the value of it in real life. So if you have a hand like this, and if you keep on going, you can, even if you take it apart here, and if you can't see it, you have to be straight, but if you can't see it, you can see it slightly, then move your thumb. Right? That is, keep it like this and move it. And when you move your thumb, what did you see? Tell me what is happening when you move your thumb, even if it is slightly at the edge of your field. Right? Can you understand? Take your hand to the edge of your field and move it and see what is happening. It gets blurred, but can you sense that there is something moving in the edge of your field? Right. This is another sort of a mysterious thing about the visual field is, most of the time when there is a movement in the edge of your field, right, in the edge of your visual field, if there are movements, we can see it clearly rather than in the center, right? So if in the edges something is happening to us, we see it clearly or we perceive it properly. Why? Because as I told you, when you are crossing the road, or if you are in a caveman, 500 BG or something like that, if you are going for hunting and somebody is coming from the sides to attack you, you have to know that. So the peripheral vision is very important, and the peripheral sensing is vital when you are understanding about crossing the road. Anisha Singh, you didn't get the point. The point is we have a visual field, right? You should. I suppose all of you can know what's a visual field. If anybody can't understand what's a visual field, can you just say that you don't know what's a visual field? Right. Okay. So the visual field is when you are looking straight, your eyes are straight, how far you can see, how wide you can see. Am I clear? How wide you can see. Now, when you are, I'm supposing you are all looking at the phone, but if your mother enters your room, you will know that. Right? Or somebody is coming in, your eyes go suddenly there. That is your, what we call as the field of vision, the edge of your field of vision. If something is moving in the edge of your vision field, you will sense that more clearly than when something is moving in front of you. Right? Right. Thank you. So this is also important when you are looking at or understanding, trying to understand the traffic, your crossing of the road. You can see that when you are moving, you need to see in the edge of the sides, there is something coming closer. You will have some height, right? But because of the speed of the vehicles nowadays, it is very difficult to perceive it. And also, after the road became one way, it's become a racing track, so it's a huge headache for us, and lots of Lots of accidents actually. Right. So I have to perceive it and then I have to move. Right. So that's a classical example for how to cross your road. Remember, I've just given you one part of it. There are a lot of things which you can see. But just for our understanding, because I'm trying to build up to something very important for us to the next thing I want to talk about is how do I, what happens to me when I am standing in the bus, right? How am I balancing myself, right? So the question, I've already told you what is happening to you when you're swaying forward, swaying backwards, sideways, what is happening to you and all those things, how we sense those things. Now the question I'm going to ask you is, what are your anti-gravity muscles or muscles which are stopping you from falling? You can again answer via chat. You're traveling in the bus, right? And how will you stop yourself from falling? That's the question I'm asking. Again, you can answer me via chat. Hopefully you all become quiet. Okay, plantar flexors, soleus, hamstrings, extensor muscles, arch muscles. When you're all standing in the bus, not your lower limb muscles, moving with the upper limb muscles. Right. Okay, it's a moving platform, right? That is the most important thing. It's a moving platform, so you can't produce an equal and opposite force because the platform is moving with your lower limb, because we are not monkeys where you can hold your lower limb. I mean, you can't do this with your lower limb. You can't have any coordination with your or any sort of fine movements with your lower limb. So, as Navin Kumar has pointed out, it's a moving platform. So, what is the most important thing to stop it from falling is holding with your upper limb, and that is right, Rajesh. What it means is, because our system is, or the environment is so variable, here the variability, what I'm talking about as variability is, the environment is moving. When your environment is moving, and if you are not bowling, if you are from Tamil Nadu, you will know this joke very well, I suppose, right? When the bus stops, what happens is you are actually producing, you are going forward, right? When the bus stops, you have to keep on going forward. For that, you have to produce an equal and opposite force. You can't produce it without your hands. If you are trying to stand like this, and if they put a brake, you will just fall down. In the joke, you will fall down, breaking the glass. That will not happen, but that's what happens, right? Now, what I'm trying to make you understand, the system tries to understand where am I in relation to the environment. It tries to understand, it sees out and it sees that the objects are moving, but I am not moving. So it understands that I am on a moving object. The vestibular system is also sensing to a certain extent that I am moving in the forward direction. If you are sitting in the corner, the air which falls on your face tells you that you are moving forward. Right? So when you are moving forward, you always know that this object has to come to a stop. When it has to come to a stop, I can't go like this. If I do, I will bump my head. So I have to hold on to something. Right? remember, the first and foremost thing about the human system is it has to not kill itself. Survival is the most important. To not fall is most important for us. So you try to hold balance with your upper lip. That is why we should not say that there are so-called anti-gravity muscles. They are not there. All muscle activity is dependent on the environment. In the context, context means the situation you are in, right? That is why we should never think of this muscle will work, that muscle will work, if you don't know the context, right? So that is one lesson about the context. I'm going to give you more examples about the context. So I have, this is where we are coming more and more closer to the idea of what's a perception action theory. Now this is a very small video. You just have to, I'm going to show you 3 or 4 videos, and then I'm going to ask 2 questions. I'll run all videos twice or thrice. It's all just 2 seconds or 3 seconds. So it's just filling the water, that's all, nothing. But just look at the hand and things like that, and the way the tumbler is old. Right? That's what we are trying to make you understand. Right? So that is 1. This is 2. Now, what I've asked it to do is, I have asked my son to get the water and give it to me. So that's it. This is what I wanted to see. And the last thing is, I have told my wife to take the cup in the shelf and pour water, or fill it with water. Now, I have not given any suggestions how it has to be done, but just told them to do it. Right. So you saw 2 videos of getting water. So what is the first thing you can see difference between this video and this video? You can send it your answers to the chat, or you can open your mic and answer me also if you can't type this. Okay, so I can have a lot of answers. Don't worry about it. It's all multitasking, there is no question about it. Right, so Anisha says that there is a change in the holding pattern of the object in accordance with the object. Very good. Now, I think that is the right answer. So what I'm going to tell you is, I'm going to show you why she is correct, right? Now, you can see that there is a very subtle variation. Now, in this video, you can see that now, because the object was upside down, you can see that her starting position is with the thumb pointing downwards. You will see that most of the time you will never have a movement where your thumb is pointing downward. But here it is happening because the thumb is pointing downwards because the object is upside down, right? And when you try to take it, it is easy to just do a rotation of the hand and then bring it here. Now, right, now you can see it because she is holding another object, she wants to click it to the full so that she doesn't want to operate this because this might fall down, right? But when you see this here, he is in the half position and he can stop it whenever he wants because there is nothing in his hand, right? So what it means is your movement is not based on just your muscles and the brain. It is based on purpose, goal, object. Everything determines your movement, right? And if you see in this next video, right, you can see that he is holding on the rim because then only he can give it to the next person. If he holds it like this, it is slightly difficult, right? So all these things are dependent on the goal, on the environment. All these makes up your movement, not just your brain, right? So that's what I wanted to tell you today. So what does your, these are your observations, we have done that. So what it means from all these things, what can we learn from all these things is movements are a product. What I mean by product is it emerges. The movement emerges when we have three important parameters we have talked about today. So can you tell me what are the three important parameters which have made up a movement or which are telling us how to move? Okay. According to the goal, what else we are living? Purpose, what else? Purpose, vision is not anything to do with anything. That's just a word. Environment, perception, and purpose. Wonderful, but perception is just to understand what we are. That is not actually what determines. The environment itself, you are perceiving it, so you don't have to have environment and perception. Environment and what you perceive is your environment, right? So there is nothing else for you to perceive as such. So what you see is your environment. So environment, task, and our will, not will as such, but our goal, right? Right. So wonderful answers. I think Smita has the nearest answer. I think a lot of people have done. Anisha, according to the goal. Marimutu, I think you are also near. Coordination is nothing to do with any of these things. Right. So if you have to move, what do I need? I need to have the biology has to be there. There's no question about it. The biology has to interact with your task and the environment. So if I have to move on the, if I have to cross the road, I need the biology has to know what is the environment, how is the environment, what is moving, what is coming to hit me, and what is the task, what is the purpose. I have to go from here to there, how far it is, how fast I have to move. All these things it has to know. If I have to if I have to fill my tumbler with water, what I have to know is how to hold it. Why do I need to know how to hold this? Because it has to be not spilling like what I have done. It should not spill like that, right? So I have to hold it in such a way that it is not spilling, right? I have to know what is the purpose. If I am holding here, right? Probably if it is hot, I will hold it here, right? That's why they have this. And if I have to drink, I will go like this. If I have to give it to other person, I will go like this, right? So your task and the environment determines what your movement is. And this is our fundamentals of neuro rehabilitation. When you are making up or if you are trying to form a rehabilitation program for your patient, you have to consider the biology with your task and the environment. If you don't consider those things, then it becomes a joke. I'll give you a simple example. If we have to do swimming, what is the most important thing you want to know? If you have to swim, what is the most important thing you have to have? Plan of the movement, really? If you have a plan, nothing will happen. And the brain does not plan your movements. The movements emerge, as I told you. The brain does not plan. It's not a computer. It doesn't plan. It emerges. Right, Rajesh, you are exactly right. As I told you, you cannot do any movement without the water, right? So you want to have a water and you need to know the task. What is the task of the purpose? Not to drown, right? What is the function of your swimming is not to go down, at the same time go from one place to another. So the biology has to get into the water and then do the movement. Remember, the movement is not swimming. If you have to swim, you have to do it in the water. You cannot do it on the table. So what does it mean? If you are making a patient walk, if you are making him walk by lying down, you are making a joke out of yourself. If you are doing a mat exercise for walking, it means that you are making him swim without water. If you are making him sit on a Swiss ball, again you are making a fun out of yourself. Nobody sits on a Swiss ball except for people in circus. Is the environment, is it what they are going to do at home? Not really. Is the task or the purpose has to be very, very clear or useful for your patient. Say, for example, a lot of people teach them to do shuffling of the cards, taking the pegboard pin. Remember, those may not be the purpose of your patient, right? So for us to understand the biology or the movement, you need to understand that all our movements are perceptual action. That is, you perceive and then you do a action. So for that, you need to have understand how we understand the environment and the task. And if all three comes together, the movement emerges. Don't say planning. Planning does not happen in the brain because there is no time for you to plan, right? If you just think about any movement you're doing, it will just come like that. So the latency is very, very small for you to have any planning as such. Those are all older ideas of how the neurology. Anyway, so these are the points I want to make you understand that if all three are not there, you are wasting your time from not understanding. For that, I have tried to give you a simple understanding with some simple tasks which we do in our daily life, right? Thank you so much for patiently listening and for a lot of wonderful, wonderful answers. I'll also have 5 minutes for if you have any questions. I will be happy to answer.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful session, sir.
Thank you.
And we will go for
how we work, move and sleep question. As I told you here, when you're sleeping, and your touch system will also work. So that's how you will know that what position you are. So there are a lot of, you should have understood vibration sense and the touch sense, all these senses. So these information are going. And we also know from prior experience, what is the length and breadth of our cot, right? Even if you are in the train and you lie down on a berth, you will not fall down. If you're small, you will. Because when you're small, you don't understand the parameters of the berth. But if you are older, you will understand the parameters of the berth and you have a prior experience. You use those information to do that, right? Thank you so much, Rajesh. Sorry, I cut you halfway through, Chandramohan.
Any other questions? Participants, please, you can unmute and ask, or you can type in a chat box. Vigneshwaran, yes, you can unmute. Rupesh, you can unmute Vigneshwaran.
Yes, sir. I'm unmuting him. Vignesh, you can speak
Yes,
out.
Vignesh. I think mistakenly he has raised the hand.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Sorry.
No questions, sir, actually.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for a wonderful session, sir. We are happy to have you in this series, and we are moving on to the next series also. Hope I will get your appointment to teach young kids again once more.
Okay. Thank you so much for. It's just
Am I audible?
it's just
Rupesh?
wonderful that I have
Yes,
seen
sir.
a lot of people from different parts of the India.
Rupesh, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye, sir.